StrayAllDay.com.
You're not tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including you, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one show. And we got this daily masterclass that will give you a framework every single day for you to do one thing. And we call it work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic, we are going to talk about the speaking business, the professional speaking business. It goes hand in hand what we talked about yesterday, and we're going to talk about how you can actually get yourself booked on stage to give speaking gigs. Now, before I go any further into this, let me remind you, or inform you if you didn't know, that I have a text message line where you can actually text me and you can ask me any question, you can share any challenge, you can ask any follow-ups you have to anything that I'm talking about here today. If you have something specific, person specific related to what I'm talking about here today, you can ask that there as well. My number is 305-384-6894. Once you do send me a text over there and you are a part of my texting community, you will also be receiving my daily motivation text messages, which I send out every single day. If you doubt I can send a daily motivation text message every day, look at the show title list of this very show. If you go to workonyourgamepodcast.com, listen, I got plenty of material. I can send you a daily text message for longer than you or I will even be allowed to read them. But my number, once again, is 305-384-6894. Now, today's topic, how to book speaking gigs, goes hand in hand with what we talked about yesterday, which was the publishing world. Everything about book publishing. When we talk about traditional versus self-publishing and everything in between, selling your book, marketing, promoting your book, getting a book deal, infrastructure around putting a book out. And here's the thing, if you're writing a book, then you are putting yourself in a position of a thought leader. What is a thought leader? It's just a person who has some intellectual property, which is knowledge that is in your head, but that's actually worth money, that you can find a way to monetize and sell the knowledge that is in your head. Anyone who writes a book, that is intellectual property. A podcast is intellectual property. Comedy, being a comedian is intellectual property because you got some funny jokes and they're worth money and you can sell tickets and get people to come to your comedy show. That is intellectual property. So anytime you know something, a teacher, a professor in school, that is intellectual property. A mechanic has intellectual property because they know how to fix things in a car that other people don't know how to fix. A plumber, intellectual property. So anytime you know something and you're able to put it, quote unquote, on paper. In other words, in some type of format, some medium that another person can consume it and they don't actually have to be there with you to get it, or you can give it to a bunch of people at the same time. That is intellectual property. And often what happens is there are many different mediums through which intellectual property can be consumed and given out and distributed. So for example, a person like myself, I share intellectual property through things that are free, such as my daily motivation text, through Instagram posts, through this show right here, my daily masterclass, what some of you call podcasts, YouTube videos. All those things are free. Then I have things that may be more low ticket, as they say, like in the Mirror of Motivation or my book, The Third Day. You can get either one of them for free. All you do is cover the shipping. The links to both are down below in the show notes. And then you can go super high ticket. You can have a live event, like Work on Your Game Live, which will be here in Miami on August 25th. You have things like one-on-one coaching, which I offer. You have mastermind groups, which will be out probably by the time that you hear this. You have things like group coaching, which allows people to come in maybe at a little bit lower price with a group of people and still get the coaching experience. And there are many things in between, such as courses, when people sell online courses, or someone does a one-off speaking gig. Speaking gigs is another one that can be more high ticket depending on who you're selling it to, how you're selling it. So there are different ways to take the knowledge that is in your head, figure out a way to package it, and sell it to people who actually want it. Speaking gigs is just one of those ways. So today I'm going to talk about how you can get yourself booked for speaking gigs. And usually people who do speaking gigs, often they also write books. Not all the time. There's some people who write books and don't do any speaking, and there's some people who do speaking and don't write any books. But often people who do speaking are also writing books, and vice versa. So there are a lot of people who want to be into this thought leadership space now for several reasons. One of them is it looks pretty fun from the outside looking in. Just like many jobs. Being an athlete looks fun. Being an entrepreneur looks fun. Being a TikToker looks fun from the outside looking in. And listen, when you know the game and you understand how to make it work and it's working for you, it is fun. So I'm not here telling you that it's not fun, but at the same time, it's not all fun. It's not all fun and games. There is a business side to it. There is work that needs to be done. There are some responsibilities that come with the job should you take it. So some people should get into this thought leadership space. And another reason to be a thought leader is because you have some actual thoughts. You have some actual ideas. You have some actual useful, valuable intellectual property that is actually worth something for other people. If you don't have that, do not get into the thought leadership world. Now, if you have that, but you're not quite sure on the business side, then you can be helped out. But if you don't have that and you're not quite sure on the business side, if you don't have the intellectual property and you're not quite sure on the business side, then you shouldn't be in the game. You had to actually have some thoughts that are worth it in order for it to make sense for you. But I'll let you sort yourself into the group that you belong in or that you are on your own. Today, what I'm going to tell you are 3 ways that you can get yourself booked onto stages. This is not an exclusive list. 3 ways that you can get booked onto stages and get yourself into the speaking world. I see many people out there selling courses and doing coaching on how to get speaking gigs, and they're selling people on this information. Some of them know what they're talking about, some of them do not. I'm going to help you save yourself some money, because the free stuff that I'm going to give you here today is going to be better than a lot of stuff that you could buy from other people. So let's get right into it. Point number 1. Topic once again is how to book speaking gigs. Point number 1, lead generation and lead nurturing. Now, what exactly does this mean? First of all, what is a lead? A lead is any person or entity that could possibly be interested in buying something from you, maybe in the present or in the future. So if someone joins your email list, that person is a lead because they're interested in something that you have to offer. Now, the thing that got them onto your email list might not be the same as the thing that you're selling, but they could possibly be interested because they're giving you permission to market to them. If someone's following you on social media, they are a potential lead because there's something about you that made them follow you. So they are a lead. So lead generating, in other words, getting people to follow you or join your lists, whatever your list may be, and nurturing those people. In other words, you building a relationship with them. So someone following you on Instagram doesn't mean you should try to sell them your $1,000 course 2 minutes later. It means now you have a chance to build a relationship with them because now they have given you permission to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and they told you by following you that they're going to listen. They're going to look at what you say. They're opening themselves up to your influence. So that's what having a lead means. That's the definition of a lead. Now I want you to understand something, that lead generation and lead nurturing is the hardest and most time-consuming method when it comes to getting speaking gigs, because you have to go find these leads or get these people to find out about you somehow, some way. Now, social media is a way that you can do it relatively quickly. The challenge with social media is that the social media apps are incentivized to keep people on the social media apps. So you can't have the kind of conversation you really want to have, and you definitely cannot consummate a transaction through a social media app. You need to get people off this app and onto a platform that is yours in order to get the transaction to happen. So that's the challenge with social media, is you want to move people from here onto a platform that you own. I've talked about this many times. One specifically is episode 1690, a secret that the social media platforms don't want you to know about. So make sure you listen to that episode. And I have a couple future episodes coming where I'm going to talk specifically about, since I've talked many times about how social media is using a lot of creators and the creators are not quite understanding the game being played and not understanding the hustle, I am going to explain to you how to use social media actually the right way. I'm going to tell you, here's the way that you should use it, and here's what it actually is good for, and here's the steps that you need to follow. I'm going to be telling you that actually probably in the next couple of days I'll do those episodes so that we can have the continuity with all these being right next to each other. So lead generation, a lead can come from anywhere. So this is what I want to make sure you understand about leads. A lead can be any person or entity. An entity meaning it can be a company. So like if Google, the company, might be interested in buying your course on how to do a dance or how to make a certain dish for dinner. That company can be a lead. And maybe a person in the company that is the lead. But a lead can come from anywhere. Your job as the entrepreneur, your job as the creator, is to figure out what is going to be your source of leads. It doesn't have to be one, you can have multiple sources, but where are you going to get these leads from? Who are these people, who are these entities that are really interested or could possibly be interested in what it is that you're selling? So I'll give you an example. Let's say, my first entrepreneurial venture was selling basketball training programs. Where would my leads come from? Well, the majority of my leads, actually 99% of my leads at that time, came from YouTube. And they were people who are already watching me on YouTube. Now, these were very good leads. Why were they good leads? Because first of all, I already knew they were interested in basketball because they were watching my basketball videos on YouTube, and I already knew they were interested in me because they were watching my basketball videos. They weren't just watching any basketball videos, they were watching my basketball videos, and they were subscribed to me, they were commenting to me. So these people were perfect warm leads. Warm leads just means they already know who I am, as opposed to a cold lead who has no idea who you are. So when I started putting my programs out, I didn't need to do too much advertising because these people already knew who I was. All I had to do was tell them that I had something and they went and bought it. Now, even though I make that sound very cut and dried and simple, you also have to understand that I put probably, to date I have about 8,000 videos on YouTube. I would say about 6,000 of those videos are basketball videos. So I put in sweat equity and time in order to make those leads as warm as they were by the time I started selling basketball programs. And I still sell programs to this day. I just don't play basketball every day as much, so I'm not as active in the eyes of the basketball community, so I'm not as visible as I was when I was playing every day. But I was able to sell those products without advertising simply because I put the sweat equity in exchange in lieu of the advertising equity. So this is just one way that I created a lead, but I knew exactly who I wanted to target. People who watch basketball videos on YouTube because I knew they were already interested in basketball training and getting better at basketball. It probably would not be a good idea for me to go and run my ads on or try to sell my stuff to some engineers who maybe they play basketball on the weekends. They wouldn't be as warm or as eager an audience as somebody who is already consuming basketball content on YouTube. So your leads, you need to figure out rather and strategize, and you can test, find out who are the type of people that would actually want to book me for a speaking gig. And this is based on not somebody just who has an event, but based on who has the type of people that are similar to you already. So let's use me as an example. We'll go to a more direct example when it comes to speaking. When I do my speeches, I talk about similar topics to what I talk about here on this show. Not usually business related, but more mindset, personal growth, professional development, personal development topics like discipline, confidence, mental toughness. So what type of entities or people would be a good lead for me? The simplest way to do this is really you just want to be a copycat. And what I mean by that is go find out other speakers who are similar to you, talking about similar things to you. I'm not the only personal development speaker in the world. I accept this fact. So then when I see a personal development speaker, I go see where they spoke at. All right, they spoke at this conference last year. Okay, well, they're probably not going to speak again there next year because everybody already heard them. They probably want something similar but different, and that'll be me. So now I get to be a copycat. I can just slide in right behind them and get that gig. Or if I try to get a speaking gig somewhere, but I see they already have a speaker, and I see they have a speaker there who's going to talk about something like leadership or motivation or mindset or personal growth, and those are really kind of bastardizing what I talk about. But in the speaking world, this is just the general topics that they use, the high level topics that they use. I say fine. All right, they got a leadership speaker last year, I'll be the leadership speaker next year. So I'll put them down into my CRM, which is customer relationship management software. You don't know what that is, go look it up. There are plenty of CRMs out there. Salesforce is one. There's one called Nutshell. Google offers one. I'm sure Facebook has some form of one. Either they have it or it's on the way. Agile CRM. These are all just places where you just basically keep track of your customers, keep track of your leads, and just a way to keep track of the conversation so you know who to follow up with, what you last said to them, what they last said to you, etc. Basically, management of your customers. That's what CRM is, managing your customers. And every business, every serious business has some type of CRM setup in place. So I would go find these events, and I will either find an event that already has a speaker like that or find speakers who are similar to me, and then I just look at what they're doing and I just go follow behind them. I usually don't like to follow behind people, but in the speaking world, this is a good rule of thumb simply because here's the reason why. Even if you are like me and you don't like to do the same thing that somebody else is doing, you want to be super unique. In the speaking world, the entities that hire speakers, often they are big companies. And often the bigger a company gets, the more bureaucratic they become. And what that means, it's just to simplify it, make it very simple, is that they don't take too many risks. And what that means is whatever you see that they did last year, they're probably going to do something pretty similar this year. And even when they do make a change, the change is not going to be super dramatic. It'll be a small change, but it's going to be pretty similar. It's just maybe done a different way, or maybe they just give it a different name. But these bigger the company is, the more bureaucratic they are, which means the slower they are to change, which means whatever they're already doing, they're probably going to keep doing it, which is a good thing for you because they become predictable. It'll be easy for you to predict what they're going to do next because they do the same things over and over again. So one way that you can find these events is you can just Google looking up event sites. There are websites out there that'll just tell you, hey, this event is happening in this city. This is the event that's coming next. This is the next year they're having the event. They'll tell you exactly what's happening, when and where, and then you can take it from there. You can Google the event. You can find the details. You can find the contact information, find a person, find an email address. Now you have to do the pitching and actually sell yourself. That's a whole different conversation. But the good thing is I've already given you that conversation. I told you the few things about selling yourself. Let me tell you the 4 C's of selling was episode number 1652. I've done so many episodes on selling that I'm just want to find certain ones I want to give you here. Episode 1608, how I would create and sell products if I was starting right now today. Episode 1594, where to spend your time when you are selling. Episode 1575, doing the thing versus selling the thing. Episode 1573, sell what they want, give them what they need. Episode number, I've done so many of these here, 701, why you can't sell to save your life. Episode 625, how to sell without being salesy. I'll just stop there. I got so many episodes on selling. But if you go to workonyourgamepodcast.com, you can see the full list of the show and just use the search function. And you can find all the episodes I've done in the past on selling. But that's what you would need to do next. Once you find a lead, now you have to figure out, all right, how do I nurture this lead? How do I build a relationship? And how do I actually sell something to them? Now, if someone will teach you how to approach these leads, I would suggest that's worth paying for if their process works. So like I told you, there are people out there who sell, hey, here's how you get speaking gigs. If part of their sales pitch, their offer is, I will show you how to, not only how to find leads, but also how to approach them, what to say, and how to build that relationship to where you actually make a sale. If someone's offering that, I would suggest that you go pay for that. Now, I don't offer a course that does specifically that. However, in my business mastermind, I will be going deep into that, answering specific questions on it and showing you specifically where to go look for those things. So when my business mastermind opens up, you can join it and I will show you exactly what I do, where I look, the CRMs I use, all of those things. So you will know exactly how it's done from someone who is actually out in the field doing it. And we already have a warm relationship. You already know who I am. So I'm not some random person with an Instagram ad. Now, moving on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to book speaking gigs. Doing media and stage appearances. In other words, doing the thing now is the easiest way to do the thing again tomorrow, because future performance is best predicted by present and past performance. One great way to get booked to do speaking gigs is to be already doing speaking gigs. And let me explain something to you. Doing something like what I'm doing right now. If you're watching this on video, you see that I'm just sitting in front of a camera. There's a microphone in front of me. This is literally a speaking gig. If I go on somebody else's podcast, that is a speaking gig. When I went on Entrepreneurs on Fire or Andy Andrews or Dave Ramsey or Grant Cardone, I've been on all these people's shows. Those are speaking gigs. What is a speaking gig? Speaking gig is when you are in front of an audience of people and they are listening to you talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. That is a speaking gig. Making a YouTube video technically is a speaking gig, but let's just talk about stage appearances, like you actually going to a venue and you are paid and booked or brought in as a speaker. You're going to give a speech about such and such topic. That's a speaking gig as well, of course. Now, just a couple weeks ago from when I'm recording this, I was in Vegas. It's the first speaking gig I've done since January of 2020. We know with the pandemic, there were no gatherings of anything. So one great way to get booked is to be doing them already or have a track record of having done them. So again, that was a year and a half between speaking gigs for me, but I had a track record of doing speaking gigs. I also had a CRM with leads in it. And the gig that I just did in Vegas, as a matter of fact, this was not a brand new lead. This is a person, I have been talking to these people for a couple of years, reaching out to them, hey, what about this one? Can we offer this one? And back and forth exchanges of emails and phone calls. We never made anything happen. They reached out to me and said, hey, Dre, we need X number of speakers for these slots at this event and this date at this location. Would you be interested? This is the budget that we're working with, and we are able to make it happen. But again, sometimes, sometimes in the speaking world, there's a long process between when contact happens and when you actually speak. So you might reach out to an event in 2021 about speaking for them, and they might not need you this year, but in 2024, they still have notes on you. They'll look you up, and they might book you 3 years from now. But this is why you need a CRM, so you can stay in touch with these people. The same way that if you have an email list, you might email somebody. Somebody might join your email list today. Somebody might join my email list today and not buy anything, but they read all my emails, they follow me on Instagram, they listen to this show, and it might be 6 months before they even get the free book, The Mirror of Motivation. Why? Because some people just need to be warmed up. And not everybody is in the same place mentally at the same time all the time. So someone might hear me talk about the Mirror of Motivation today and say, hey, that's exactly what I need right now in my life. Whereas somebody else might listen to it and say, okay, it sounds good, but I don't really need that right now. I'm not really focused on that right now. I'm focused on this other thing. And then there's another thing, then there's another thing. And then 2 years from now you need it. And then you go get the Mirror of Motivation. But hey, if I stop talking about it, you might forget that you even need it. So this is why marketing, like I talked about in yesterday's masterclass, is an ongoing job. This is why you must continue to market forever. And it's why you can never stop marketing, which is why also I'm gonna do a whole masterclass on why marketing goes on forever. So I'm writing that down right now so I remember that that's the topic. So look out for that masterclass, probably coming in a few days or sometime in the future, but it's coming one way or another. So anyway, if you are good anytime you're doing a speaking gig, and again, if you're good on YouTube, if you're good on your podcast, if you're good on somebody else's podcast, if you're good when you're on the stage, someone in the audience, the virtual audience or the real live audience, they will see you and they will want you to come speak at their event. Many times this has happened for me. I've gone and done a live in-person speaking event. Somebody in the audience heard me, liked me, and said, hey, can you come do similar to what you're doing right now for my organization or for my company? This happened a few times. Once I was doing a speaking gig in Seattle, and the guy he was like the facilitator of it because he worked for the association. He said, well, look, I run the association over in Maryland. Can you give a similar presentation to what you're doing right now for my organization over in Baltimore? I said, yes, I can. So in the gig that I was doing in Seattle, in the middle of it, he came up to me during an intermission and booked me for the event in Baltimore because I was good when I got on the stage. And there are many times, and some of you who are listening to me right now, you first heard of me because you heard me on somebody else's platform. You might have heard me on Grant Cardone's platform, or you heard me on one of Dave Ramsey's network shows, or you heard me on somebody else's podcast, or you saw maybe an article I did in somebody else's magazine. So when you get your chance on someone else's platform, understand there's a whole audience of people who never heard of you before who are now willing to listen to you for at least an hour, let you say what you gotta say. If you're good, they can become part of your audience and they become leads for your business. So you can see how all of this stuff intertwines with each other. And one of my first mentors told me that the measure of how good of a speaker you are you getting asked to do more speaking gigs based on the one that you just did? Or are you actually selling things when you do a gig? So for example, if I go on someone's show and they say, well, Dre, how can people learn more about you? And I say, hey, go to thirddaybook.com and get your free copy of my book, The Third Day. If I was any good in my appearance, then some people are going to go get that book. Now, if I was terrible, nobody's going to go get the book. Or if they don't have a big audience, sometimes that can be the case as well. But you can measure how good you are by, is anybody else asking you to do the exact same thing after the last time? Even when I was playing basketball, if I would go to some park that nobody knew me at and I would play pickup for a couple hours, usually I knew I was good if somebody walked up to me and asked me, hey, where'd you play? Where do you play at? Or what parks do you usually go to? Or someone would come up to me and say, yo, is the league starting in like 3 weeks? We need somebody like you on our team. Will you play with us? What is that? That's a lead. I did a good presentation today. They're asking me to do the exact same thing for them in the future. So one way you know that you're good at what you do is when people are asking you to come do the same thing that you're doing now for them somewhere else in the future. When people hear and see you and want you to share that same thing with their group, that is validation that you're doing a good job. So everything I'm talking about here on point number 2 hinges on one very simple assumption, and it's your job to make this assumption accurate, that you're actually good. Okay? If you're not good, this point is moot. It's a useless point if you are not good when you get your opportunity. So see my episode on frameworks. I did a couple episodes on frameworks, but I want to give you the specific one on frameworks so that you know exactly how to put yours together. And it was episode number, this is the main one, was episode 1440, frameworks, which is the master skill of organizing your knowledge. Then I explained to you how the work on your game framework works in episode 1592. You should listen to that one. Then I gave you the point story application framework, which is the framework within the framework. That was episode number 1739. So those 3 episodes, you should listen to those. And also episode 1760, a 4-step framework for promoting your stuff and getting attention, which will make a lot of sense with this one. And episode 1849, a framework for selling yourself. So actually all of those episodes on frameworks can help you a lot when it comes to making your presentation on point. So when you do get your chance, you're actually good. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is how to get booked for speaking gigs. Be discoverable. Now, this one is probably the simplest one for anyone to understand, even if you've never done a speaking gig or never even thought about it. Being discoverable just means being where people can actually see you, hear you, and get to know that you exist. That's it. When you put your content in video format, such as YouTube, audio format, like what you're listening to right now, written format, like a blog post or an email or an IG caption, Facebook post, writing a book, being on TV, if you're on some Netflix show, any of those things. If you go viral for whatever reason, all of these things make you one thing, discoverable. The more content you have out there, the more discoverable you are. When you appear on someone else's platform, you become discoverable. When you publish anything, you are making yourself more discoverable. All of these, what does discoverable mean? It just means making yourself easily found by people who may not necessarily be looking for you. That's what being discoverable means. You can be found by someone who's looking for something, maybe not specifically you, but you're out there so they find you. For example, when I first came into the game on the internet, I was blogging. I didn't really get discovered by many people through blogging. Blogging never made me big, but when I started putting videos on YouTube that exact same year, a bunch of people started finding me. And it wasn't because people were going on their computers and typing in Dre Baldwin. Nobody knew who I was at the time. But what people were looking for was basketball. They wanted to learn how to play basketball, learn how to practice basketball. And that's what I happened to be doing. So because I was the only person at that time putting out basketball practicing workouts completely for free, when people looked up basketball, they found Dre Baldwin. So Dre Baldwin came to be synonymous with basketball training on the internet. And that's how I made myself discoverable, because I connected myself and my work with something that people were already looking for. So you don't have to become famous first. What you do is you connect your work with something that you know people are already looking for. So for example, if I was new in the game right now, and let's say I don't play basketball anymore, I'm talking about mindset. I would start making sure that I connected my content to anything around discipline, mental toughness, confidence. Why? Because that's what I talk about. Personal growth, personal development, because that's what I talk about. So now anyone who looks for those things, hopefully they come across me. And I would just saturate the market and put out so much material, really high quality material around those subjects, that when people look for that subject, they found me. It would be inevitable that they found me. It's the exact same thing I did in basketball. So being discoverable just means be out there. Be where you can be seen. You gotta be outside. Okay, I talked about being outside in episode number. I talked about being outside a few times. And let me find the one specifically that I want to tell you. That was episode number 854, a luck strategy. Be outside often. What do I mean by being outside? I don't necessarily mean going out of your house or standing on the corner. What I mean by being outside is a metaphor. It means be where people can see you, where people can hear you, where people can touch you and feel you and get to know you and experience whatever it is that you offer. That's what I mean by being discoverable. All of these things make you easily found by people who, again, might not even be looking for you, but they find you. This is why content is one of your key marketing strategies, which I talked about. I believe that was episode 17. No, it's not the episode that I thought it was. Let me make sure I pull up the right one. It was episode number 1835. The 3 marketing traffic strategies and how to use each. There are 3 strategies, overall high-level strategies for marketing yourself to get yourself seen, heard, and known out here. The Quickest one is advertising. That means you spend money to get attention. Second one is a Dream 100. That means you connect with people who already have an audience and leverage that. And the third one is content, meaning you put out your own stuff. It's a slow burn that lets people find you over the long term. This is why content is one of those three. Is the key for longevity and being discoverable is that just like marketing, this job never ends. All right, once you decide to put yourself out there, if you want people to know about you and see you and hear you and feel you and get in touch with you and want your stuff and buy your stuff. Understand, I cannot emphasize this point enough, folks. Marketing is an endless job. It never ends. You never retire from marketing yourself unless you want to retire from people knowing about you. If you want people to stop talking about you and knowing who you are and buying your stuff, then you can retire from marketing. But as long as you want people to know you, your marketing job never ends. So you should probably come to start enjoying the concept of marketing because you're going to be doing it forever. I wouldn't want you to sign up for a job that you hate. Okay, so you need to figure out a way to love marketing because you will be doing it forever. All right, everybody understand what I'm saying? The key for longevity in any field, thought leadership included, is you got to be creating consistent content. You must be consistently trying to build new relationships. You must be consistently looking for ways that you can get people into your world, into your funnels, however you want to do it, where whatever it's costing you to get them in is less than what you're actually making. So you're actually making a profit even if you're spending money, i.e. advertising. All right, this is all your job, people. If you are not making appearances, you need to start making appearances. That's part of your Dream 100 strategy. If you're not actively adding leads to a CRM, you don't have a CRM, but you want to have the consistent customers over the long term, you need to have a CRM. These are all things you need to be doing. This is all part of the game, people. I'm giving you the game. I'm telling you what the game is. So if you don't know about these things, that's all right. That's why somebody like me is here to help you understand how these things work, why these things work, and what you need to be doing to take advantage of them. Because if you're not doing these things, you are selling yourself short in the game. And in my business mastermind, I'm going to explain in detail all of these things. So if I gave you anything here today that is new to you, or anything that maybe you have gotten away from, then just get in touch with me directly. You have my text line, you have my DM. Some of you might have other ways of contacting me. Get in touch and let's talk about it. And I'll tell you exactly how I can help you do these things and do them the right way, because I'm not talking to you about anything that I'm not doing myself. All that said, let's recap today's class, which is how to book speaking gigs. A lot of people want to get into this thought leadership space now. Again, it looks fun from the outside looking in. It serves our ego. It's nothing better than getting on the stage, giving a speech, step off the stage, and people are lining up to shake your hand and take pictures with you because of how great you were just by talking about what's in your own mind. I mean, that's a great ego boost. Don't get me wrong. So some people should be in this space and some people should not. As long as you have the intellectual property, you can get in this game. You just need to understand the business side of it. And even though there are people selling you courses on how to get speaking gigs, I'm giving you right now a primer on how to do that. That'll save you money because, listen, I'm keeping it real. My free stuff is better than a whole lot of people's paid stuff. Again, go through the archive of this show and tell me I'm wrong. Point number one, lead generation and nurturing. This is the hardest and most time-consuming method, but it is one that anybody can start right now and get booked doing it. You need a CRM and you need a source to find your leads. Event sites is a source. They'll tell you all the information about events. Now you need to know how to approach them and how to actually sell yourself, which is a whole other skill. Point number two, media and stage appearances. This is a great way to get booked for speaking gigs, is to be doing them already. If you are good at any appearance that you do, somebody in that audience will see you and they'll want you to come to their event, or they'll buy your product, or they'll at least join your world, follow you on social media, get on your email list. My first mentor told me that one measure of how good of a speaker you are you getting more speaking gigs based on the last speaking gig? Is anybody asking you when you get off the stage, hey, can you get that same speech to my company? That's a good way of knowing that you're good. People will hear you and see you and they will want you to share the same thing. And all of this is based on the assumption that you're actually good. If you're not good, then you must get good. And you see my episodes on frameworks, episode 1440, to make sure your presentation is on point. And number three, be discoverable. Your own content, video, audio, written formats, that makes you discoverable. What does it mean to be discoverable? Also writing books, being on TV, going viral. It means someone finds you even though they weren't looking for you. That's discoverable. All right, discovering you means they weren't necessarily looking for you, but they found you. All right, now finding you is if they're looking for you and they find you. But if nobody knows your name, but they find you anyway, that means you were discoverable. You did something that allowed them to come across you. Content is one important way to do this that you have 100% control over. You need to be doing it consistently because, as I told you, and I'm going to do a whole whole masterclass on this topic. Marketing is an ongoing lifetime job. You never, ever retire from marketing. And when you get in this job, You are signing up to market yourself forever, okay? If ever you stop marketing, then that means you are okay that you stop selling. If you're all right with that, I am too. Send me a text. Tell me the best insight you got from this. You have a follow-up question. If I can help you, if you want to join the business mastermind, send me a text. My number, 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre, all